What's going on out there, all you Facebook and YouTube live fishing freaks? Got a great show for you guys tonight. We're talking with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jesse French from Bluerock Tackle. If you don't know, you're about to. Dude's got a bunch of cool baits that he makes here in the great state of Ohio. And we're going to be talking about wintertime fishing. We're also going to be talking about some of his baits on what we like to throw in the wintertime. And I'm really interested in getting to know this 1099 jig he's got that all my buddies are talking about. And I'm fixing to buy some. So after this short intro, we will get after it. Let's do it.
Gotta get your arms way up in a cast and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loom that's right. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck and give it a whirl. Hello and welcome to my world.
What's up, everybody? Again, thanks for joining this episode of On Under the Line Live. If you haven't went out there and subscribed to my YouTube channel, I have a goal of 6,000 subscribers by this time next year. If you like to see what I do and what I produce, make sure you go over there and hit that subscribe button on YouTube because, as I was telling Jesse a minute ago, I have a hard deadline. If I can't make 6,000 subscribers by January 1st, 2024, I'm out the door. I'm going to go fishing and not worry about my YouTube channel anymore because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. But I have some goals, like getting somebody like Jesse French here online talking about bait. So without further ado, let's talk about fishing. Let me introduce Jesse French from Bluerock Custom Tackle. You can find him at bluerocktackle.com or any of the social media sites that you like, TikTok, any things like that. Jesse, I'll give you a minute to introduce yourself and maybe your brand a little bit.
No, I don't need no introduction. I'm Jess. I am Bluerock down here in the hills of Muskingum County, down towards Morgan County, and just an old redneck that likes to make fishing baits and make friends. So, and I like to fish and I like to shoot deer. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So again, the thing about it is that the reason I asked Jesse on the show is the fact that he makes some custom baits that are phenomenal. Again, all my buddies are talking about it. Some of the baits he's throwing, but so he's kind of like where I'm at right now, but at a more grandiose level. I'm using, lead pots and, and do-it molds. And that's where I'm sure he started out. We were talking about it via text message earlier. And then there comes a time where you just can't keep up with bait making if you're wanting to create, a company out of this, because pouring like 5 jigs at a time would suck if you were trying to sell them. So at what point when you started making this stuff, like, did you start selling baits like at a mass level and then have to upgrade, or did your the want outlive what you have as far as your like the I guess the demand? Did that kind of did that drive you wanting to get bigger?
Probably the biggest factor in all of that, from the hobby level to kind of turning it into a little business, is probably stores. When stores come into play, you're not just making 4 black and blues for Jimmy and a couple green pumpkins. When stores come into play, things get serious pretty quick, and you have to figure out, are we going to just call this a hobby and pull back the reins, or are we going to spend a little money here and get some equipment that's going to help us make these things faster? And it's just, a lot that's evolved into that. Some businesses never, get lucky enough to get in a store, and it's just, I've been very fortunate to just have a bunch of very loyal dudes, kind of put me on their shoulders and use our stuff. And it's, that's it, period. Without the support, you're not gonna get the attention of a store or this or that. But stores are definitely the changing factor of when the do it molds probably aren't going to cut it anymore unless you're just going to totally burn yourself out and not be able to keep up.
Yeah. So, again, I've been mentioning the 1099 jig, which according to your website is one of your newest, hottest selling baits. As far as I know, it's just a compact jig with a 2-aught. But is it a micro jig, or what sets it apart from the normal jig?
I don't take all the credit for this jig. Whitney Stevens, a friend of mine now at this point, he come through the expo, and I don't know if you ever met Whit, but he's good dude. He's fished a couple Bassmaster Classics. He's from down in Waverly, and he bought some triple threat jigs. Might have been the first Columbus Fishing Expo I ever did. He came through with Chris Malone, and just got a random DM on Instagram one day. Actually, I was sitting in my tree stand. It was a following fall, and it was Whitney, and he sent me a video of that little jig in his sink with some trailer on it. He loved them, and he just said, "Hey, Jess, you want to meet up in Lancaster maybe? And I want to talk about, a little jig. I think there's a market for it, and I just haven't seen, it's kind of that same, like that Kitech casting jig type size, range, profile." And so we met, and he gave me some ideas, and then like right after that, stuff got weird. Like the following year, COVID hit, and this and that, and I was still in the process of working a day job at that point, so I hadn't really got around to like getting real serious about it. But one thing led to another. I made a few molds out of clay just on a hook, and was kind of trading back and forth with him and getting his opinion. And he's very connected with some of the best fishermen in the world, and we were getting feedback from them, and we just kind of came to it, and we found this little jig. I don't know what's so special about it. It's just a solid little. I don't even know we've just got like a good little trailer keeper. Like it's just, it's like a use it till you lose it jig. Like it's just a little tank. Like nothing's going to happen to it, and it just gets bites, I guess. I mean, it's been good to me, and everybody seems to love it. So.
Yeah, so I was digging through last night, looking at some of the stuff. I'm in the process of putting together an order here to order some of your stuff. Like, I'm having a hard time picking from the collars, man. I think not only is the jig really cool, I love the compact shape, especially in my area. And you're not, if you're from Morgan County, you're around Athens, I assume, right? Is Zanesville right?
I'm on the Muskingum River,
Okay.
and I'm about. So that dumps into the Ohio down in Marietta. So
Yeah.
I'm like 4 or 5 locks up the Muskingum. So I'm just basically, was raised fishing a tributary that runs into the Ohio River. So it's like the same, the same crap. It's small stuff, small spinner baits, small jigs.
Yeah, we're not too far apart, but like what I was saying is I think the small compact frame of that, and I don't know Whitney personally. I do know that he's a hammer. Him
Yeah.
and Chris, I know Chris Malone really well. He's my local boat dealer here in Ironton. But there's like some of the stuff. Matter of fact, I think he actually might have done really well on one, or may have actually qualified for one of the Bassmaster Classics throwing a spinner bait that's made here in my hometown at the top.
Yep.
But like I said, he's a hammer, and I think it's really cool that it's kind of worked out full circle for you being able to work out with someone like that. But the reason I think that small profile works really well is that in my area, man, the fisheries that we fish, no matter what time of the year, it's uber pressured. The Ohio River, up around your way, it's hard to say this, but it's a lot better than it is down my way. We're only talking hour and a half, 2 hours, I guess, west of where you're at. But so are you guys on the St. Mary's pool, or what pool is that?
So, where the Marietta, or in Marietta, I don't know. We've always just called it the Belpre pool. So that's one lock below St. Mary's. And then above that, I'm not what's that, Powhatan or whatever. So
you're on the same pool that
right where
Ravenswood, West Virginia. You're in the same pool there, right?
no, Williamstown, West Virginia. You've got Belpre, and then you've got right across the river. What the heck's that town right across the river? I can't even think of it.
That pool is where like Blennerhassett Island
It's
is.
brutal. It's brutal. It's got the Hocking River. It's got the Muskingum River, but it's they have some giant tournaments out of there. The guys at Seven Rivers, and that's something I've been dying to do. Is get down and fish some of those big tournaments, because I try to just get around and fish different stuff. Last year we bought a new house, so I didn't, like the year before, I fished the whole Buckeye BFLs as a boater, which was fun, and got to fish your end of the river down there a little bit. And it's not much different. It's really just the same. So
the smaller profiles, I think that really
right
makes a big deal, because I think it's something else that this fish are not seeing. So guys, those of you guys who want to see the bait, it did show us a little bit, but I'm gonna show you guys the actual website here so you guys can see that a lot better. And I'm gonna show the tab here so you guys can see it. So you guys are seeing it now. This is again his website, bluerocktackle.com. You can find anything you want on here. Again, there's a ton of different products he have, but we're talking about the 1099 jig here, which comes in 3 different sizes: 3/16, 5/16, and 7/16. And you can see the different collar here. And again, that's a Witt's white that was just up there, and then Ozark crawl, Army green, pumpkin, Inferno crawl. There, the list goes on and on. But I think, me being what I am, like, I don't know that I could get past either the bruised green pumpkin or green pumpkin black. Those are really
that green pumpkin black seems to be it's a killer. One that seems to stay pretty low on stock is also the natural crawl. It's more of like the brown looking. I don't know. It's got a brown head. It's just a good look. Like when it's in your hand, it's a really good looking color.
Yeah, I have your website here pulled up online so they can see I got the natural.
Yes, yeah.
So if you were going to pick up some of the 1099 jigs, and obviously being the guy who makes them, you would say all of them. But what's the most like popular size? Yeah, I figure 7/16.
Yeah, I would say 7/16 all day, every day. There's a time for that 3/16 and 5/16, like say like early spring on Buckeye Lake or Grand Lake St. Mary's, when you're fishing shallow and you don't want that thing just like missile to the bottom. But the 7/16 is nice because it's compact and it's heavy, and you have a lot of control over it, number one. But you can slow down that fall rate if you want to put a little flappier trailer on it, and it's really really good, like Sandusky Bay, the harbors and stuff up at Lake Erie, like that 7/16, when that current gets ripping around some of them little corners and stuff. You know how it does.
Yeah.
It just seems to be kind of like that perfect weight that like doesn't lodge right down into rocks, but keeps you in contact with the bottom, which is really important up there.
Yeah. Just to give you guys, we've been talking about the 1099 jig, but I'm going to open up his products here for you. Got a ton of different products, different baits, stuff that you can get your hands on. So you have a subscription box too. Did I see that right?
Yep, they actually go out this week. They mail the 15th, and I was just packing them today. But it's actually a quarterly box, and we call it a seasonal subscription box. We started it about a year ago, and it was something I thought about doing for a while, but I didn't want to do a monthly box just because I felt like I could run short on products and time sometimes. Like, I like to enjoy life and fish a little bit too, so a monthly box just seemed like it might be too much. But we try to just fill the box with things like that are going to work in the following 3 months. So if it's a spring box, it's going to be probably jig and spinnerbait heavy, or vice versa. And in the summertime, we usually send out more Ned heads and tubes and small plastics, things that fish kind of seem to trend to more for the season.
What's up, Matthew Strickland? What's up, buddy? Aaron Strickland here says, "What's your best seller?" Are you talking about? Let's just do in the 1099 and also just your best selling bait.
The 1099 is probably become it. Before that, it's a really close tie. Sell a ton of stupid tube hooks. Just one of those little terminal things that guys seem to like once they start using them. Just particular in products like a 1/4 ounce second spinner bait, Willow, Colorado. Sell a ton of that particular model. And as far as a 1099, I'd say the best selling 1099's probably a green pumpkin. And it's probably 7/16, 5/16, 3/16 seem to not go quite as fast just because like I said, I think they're a little more nichey. They're just, a lot of guys don't like waiting on that slower fall. But behind the 1099, my best selling jig for sure was the triple threat, which is just a little Ned style jig that I custom designed again. And the thing you find out about that trends with the little tackle business is your best sellers end up being things that you put a little more work and like design something that wasn't like come from a do it style mold or something. So it pays a little bit to do that extra work and create stuff and have it 3D printed, and it costs a little money to do things that way, but it seems like those products end up selling better. And I don't know if it's because they are better or just because they're a little different. Like, we're all suckers for something different as fishermen when we
Yeah.
see it. So
Yeah, so I'll share the screen here and then show the triple threat. This is also a finesse jig. Again, looks very similar to a Ned, but
yeah,
another thing that I think sets your baits apart from other stuff is that you have a copper wire tied skirt. So they're not just a rubber band that most get, which takes a little bit more time, per
right,
bait. But I think it's the attention to detail on that stuff that, this is one bait maker to another. I feel like that this is setting your stuff apart because you're not getting this from Strike King. You're not getting this from, Sixth Sense or whoever. I don't think you're getting this unless you're getting this niche market like you're talking about, where
right,
these are handmade here in the United States of America. Which we were talking about tungsten before we got on here, and I have a lot of things like my buddy J.R. White, who's right here. We had a conversation about lead versus tungsten. So, as you guys know, by the way, guys, the tungsten deal is going through. You guys will be able to pick up on another line tungsten here very soon. Mostly at the tackle box, hopefully, but you guys will be able to get them online. But the biggest thing is, like, when I started fishing lead, as far as lead poured baits versus tungsten weights, obviously I can't make tungsten in my house. Jesse and I were talking about, there's nowhere in the United States that makes tungsten baits that I'm aware of. If it's tungsten, it's coming from, the Asian continent somewhere, usually China. And the biggest thing is that I can tell the difference between tungsten and lead, but do I think there's a giant advantage in jigs and stuff like that? Not really if I'm talking about like really heavy stuff, maybe, but if I'm talking about like Texas rigs and stuff, I do think there's definitely an advantage over tungsten weights, like worm weights and stuff. But when it comes to jigs and stuff, I can't tell the difference in them. Obviously you're a custom manufacturer for lead baits. What's your take on that?
as far as a jig goes, I'll have guys argue. There's definitely advantages as far as the size is smaller with tungsten now on a jig. Probably a little bit better sensitivity. Do I think that is a game changer with the sensitivity for a guy that fishes day in and day out? Like, you're going to feel a bite if you get a bite. You're going to know a rock if you go over a rock or whatever. But as far as like, say you go to Mosquito and you want to punch grass with a 3/4 ounce weight and a beaver, like, hell yeah, I want tungsten. I
Yeah.
don't want lead. So
Right.
there's, I mean, you gotta have your tungsten in play in that manner. As far as jigs go, um, I like making a stuff. So I'm just going to say it doesn't matter to me with jigs because I haven't got to the point where I just want to like pack all this up and send it to China and say like, hey, make me this the exact same jig in tungsten. And number two, I don't think that would be a smart business decision because just the same reason we were talking before the show, like how you said the market's so flooded. There's a bait for a bait and an accessory for an accessory, and I almost feel like it's kind of evolved so much that there's becoming room for like a wholesome little brand like mine. That's like, you know we got the capability to make a decent amount. Like we couldn't overnight become like a nationally known brand or anything, but I'm also not the type of guy that has to be a millionaire to be happy. If I can keep the family fed and everybody happy and have enough money to go fishing and go deer hunting and enjoy my life. Like, um, it's not, I don't have to be that Strike King or Berkeley. You hear it all the time. Like, when you gonna get in Bass Pro? And like, just from an industry standpoint, like I've talked to so many guys that like had that chance and it almost like put them under because they milk you down so much, and it's just a really hard, that initial leap like sucks your business dry of money and inventory and everything. So that all is more stress. And those big stores like that, they want to have your stuff sold before they have to cut you your check. So it's usually net 60, net 90. And I just like the size I'm at, I love. If I could keep kind of scaling into this, these really nice privately owned stores like we're in, like, Fisherman Central and Ohio River Outdoors, Vance Outdoors, and these types of stores that we're getting in that are, they're more personable with me. Like, they know I have a family to feed, and they make sure I get paid when I need paid, and I make sure I get them the baits when they need the baits, and I don't know. I like where it's at right now. So I
Get
don't know.
that. Oh, Josh Langley in the house. This is a 1099 jig, triple threat jig, and Indiana Pulse spinnerbait from Bluerock, are the best in the industry. Use Ohio Bass Guru 10 for 10% off your order.
That is the Ohio Bass Guru. Thanks, Josh. He's been putting out some videos up there on Lake Erie and the harbors and on the bay. I've watched a few of them. They're
That's cool.
pretty.
Yeah. Like I said, JR and I were talking about earlier. We want to buy up some of your stuff and go put them to the test soon. Hopefully, man, I tell you what, you're in the same boat as I am. You're not too far from me. We live in an area of the United States, and I keep telling myself, I keep kicking myself in the rear end, like, why do I live here? Well, first off, I'm 16 years deep as a high school teacher, so my current career pretty much keeps me locked down. But we live in a place where fishing, it doesn't get cold enough to have ice fishing weather. It doesn't get cold enough to have ice out, so it just
Right,
gets so cold that you don't want to be outside. So
right.
like why do I live here? I don't know, but I guess we spend the wintertime wishing we were fishing and talking about it like we are now and making bait.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right though. When you're talking about you like to make it yourself. Hey Larry Slack, what's up, buddy? I think that a lot of that comes from my tinkering and stuff. And that is like I think there's nothing cooler or more cool to go out to your garage and pour a bait that you really are passionate about. Take that thing, tie it onto a rod the next day going fishing, and absolutely hammer down on a fish. Like you catch one
yeah,
fish on one bait that you've poured, you're hooked for the rest of your life.
right, right. Yep, it's an addiction for sure, and that's how it starts. And I don't know where I made the the crossover into like what I did. I mean, like as far as turning it into a business, but it was once that for me. Like that's how it started. First mold I bought was just the little do it shaky head mold or something or another, and that just now I got 50 of the things sitting over on the shelf, and I'll still get them out and use them, break out the Dremel tool, and uh, got little mad scientists and everything, and sometimes you might sacrifice a 40, 50, $50 mold over it, but um, something I always did if I'd screw one up real bad is I'd just mix up some JB Weld and skim it back across there and then start over again. So a little pointer if any of you like to Dremel on your molds, because I always like dremeling out to put a wire keeper in them and stuff.
Yeah, so that was the thing with me is like I have the I don't know, I have like you said, like 50 of these daggone molds, and at $50 a piece they get expensive. But luckily enough, I've been able to get hooked up with Do It over the last couple of years and become an influencer for them. So it makes it a little easier on
Yeah,
the pocket.
sure.
But one of the
Yeah.
things that I did was like, I bought the football head jig, and I really like their football head jig, but I like a wire weed guard for some reason. I started fishing a buddy of mine's who had made some just from the same do it mold, had modified his, like you're saying, with like stuff that you couldn't, you'd have to Dremel it out like JB Weld or whatever. But
Yeah.
I took some high temp silicone, just like you would make like gasket maker for an engine, and put over top of where
Nice.
the plug would be, the for
Yeah.
the weed guard. And then where that stuff is spongy, you can just put the weed guards in there, and when you close the mold, it sponges down around them, so it does that spray
Right.
around it.
Right. Smart. And on God, man, like that's the stuff that I like sincerely miss. Like when you get to where, not that we're like a big time business or anything, but like when you get to the point where you like have this set list of products, like you were talking about fishing in the winter, like sadly I don't get to do much of it anymore. Like we're trying to stock the shelves, and expo season starts here in just a few weeks, and we'll be hitting the road. But I miss being able to just sit and have an idea and tinker for hours on end. But now it's like, when it's a business, you don't have hours just to spend doing that, which sucks sometimes, but it's all I still find time. I still catch myself out here the night before a tournament with my little lead pot and pouring a couple of these little custom doodaddies I used to make or whatever. But we do spin cast now, which is a different process, but and it has its advantages because the cleanup's a lot less when you don't have to really file anything off or anything, and it just the volume goes up, and you can make your own molds and all that good stuff if you buy a vulcanizer. So it just opens up your options to doing a lot more stuff, I guess, when you switch to spin cast. But it's just one of them things. I think you have to do that at some point if you want to own something where you can keep up if if you're pushing to grow it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I went into the tackle making business, not in the business. I went into tackle making for the sheer aspect of, again, like I said, being able to pour something and catch fish on it. And above and beyond that, I feel like it's almost like a conversation starter. I got a couple of my buddies, Kyle Malone, Dusty, also J.R. White, bunch of us fish my jigs and stuff, and like
Right.
it's not about getting rich. It's not about making money. It's about catching fish and being as successful as you can as a group of people, because you always hear this. I always heard this saying that I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. Well, in the fishing world, I've got 100 quarters. You know what I mean? I've got a lot of good buddies that fish
Right.
and stuff, so that I'm super, and that's why I still do it. I pour baits, and I don't do it. I pour maybe 100 jigs a year, and
Right.
that's because with me throwing a lead jig, if I'm pouring it myself, I got less than a buck in that thing. If I pitch it into this big gnarly stump and set the hook and break my line,
Yeah,
it
for
sucks.
sure.
But it sucks.
For
But
sure.
it's only a buck. You know what I mean? As opposed to $10 tungsten jig.
Right, right. And that's a whole other can of worms and probably a whole different conversation from the business aspect of it. A lot of you got, you know, like we were talking again before the show, like guys make beautiful jigs in their basement every day, just like I have before, or you do, and um, you'll get a lot of guys that are they'll say, "Hey, don't buy that jig from Jesse. I can make you that jig for 250 or whatever." But a lot of people don't understand when it becomes a business. Like, number one, you have overhead. I mean, you have bills now and taxes. Like, that's why those prices go up. Like, I'm not just pocketing all that extra money. Like, there's excise tax, sales tax. And when you do everything online, you have to be legit. You have to be legal. Because they'll get, the IRS will get you um, if you turn it into like a legit deal and aren't paying the paper. So that's what sucks. That's why those prices have to go up when you kind of take that step that I did. But dude, the loyal buddies and the support, like they get it. Not everybody gets it, but most people get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when I was talking about having a $1.50 in the jig, and that's just talking about in the jig. You're talking about having overhead and stuff. But if you're talking about, even one do it mold is $50, $55. Plus, you got to
Right.
find the lead pot, and you got to have time to do it, and you're going to have to paint it. Yeah, I mean, there's way more than that goes into it. And like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
when you're monetizing the stuff as a business, that's one thing that, like, for example, I build custom guitars as well. And I just built a custom guitar for a buddy of mine. I just dropped him to him today. He's a great musician, and we were talking about it. He's like, "Man, I hope I can help you sell some of these guitars." And like, of course, me on the business side of things, I'm like, "Yeah, I hope you help me sell 1,000 of them." But in the grand scheme of things, I have to sell this guitar for like $4,000 because I have so much time and effort into it,
Right.
because it's a one of a kind handmade deal here in the United States that I'm doing
Right.
on my own free time, where you can go buy a Fender Strat off the shelf for like $1,500. People
Yeah.
don't see the worth in handmade one at a time anymore.
Yeah. Not everybody. Like I said, man, I mean, your loyals, the guys that get it. I try to focus on my supporters and take care of guys that have been there for me. And you're always, in anything in life, you're always going to have somebody saying something for whatever reason, but you just have to ignore them and focus on the positive people in your life and just keep doing what you're doing, man. It's just, it is what it is. I try not to waste my energy worrying about things I can't control and just try to be as fair as you can with everybody and treat everybody respectfully. And I think, the business should keep growing. I don't see why it wouldn't, but other than like economical stuff. But um, I just, even if the economy collapsed, like the COVID thing scared me, but everybody started fishing and hunting. It was like a steroid shot for a business like mine. So,
Yeah, and that's
um,
the big thing. Like, one of the things that I saw that, I'm glad that people are getting out on the water. Don't get me wrong. When I say this, don't take this for what being negative at all. But like, for example, when COVID first kicked off, and I can tell you exactly the date that stuff happened. It was March 13th, 2020, because they shut my school down. After that, a couple weeks later was when they were, they confined us all to the house and all that other stuff. So they said we could go outside. So I did. I went fishing. And me and my girlfriend went fishing at Yatesville, which is a local lake around me. And dude, I have never seen in my entirety of my life so many boats on one single lake in my entire life, dude. There must have been 200 boats on this little lake.
yeah,
It was crazy, so
yeah,
it's good that people are getting out to fish, and I think it, helps out stuff like you, and that stuff. And it all depends on, like, you know, what you want to fish. And that's the biggest thing is like you're talking about these loyal people is that, I mean, I feel like if somebody is really a loyal follower to you and really likes your baits, $7.99 for a jig or $27.99 for a jig, if they want it and like you well enough to buy it, then it should, money shouldn't be the issue.
Right, right. Yeah. I just, yeah, being like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even, like, I can't explain it. Like, the feeling, I don't, like, not that this business in the big scheme of things, we're nothing, but to the point we've gotten in just a few years, people know about us. Like, there's like some people know about us, and it's all because of the support you get, like just word of mouth. And for whatever reason, some of these customers have attached to the brand or the products or me or anything. But it makes you just feel so freaking good, man. It really does. Like, you can't even explain it. Like, getting a message and your buddy catches a 5-pounder on your jig. Like, I could get multiple of those messages in a weekend, and it's just like, man, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's so cool because I'm the same way as like, so this is a funny story. One of my best friends, Kyle Malone, and I were out fishing last, I guess it was in September, late September there, and I had poured up these jigs, and they were like, they were not pretty. Like I just like threw together some like I had some old like junked up heads, and I had some just random skirts, and I just threw them together to go fishing. And he's like, "Man, we aren't gonna catch anything on these things. These are the ugliest baits ever." And then about 8 minutes later, he hooks into a 4.5 pounder, and he's like, "I think we're gonna have to make some more of these."
right.
It's
Yeah.
like you can't do. They're one of a kind. You're not gonna make them anymore. But that's what it's all about,
It is.
And so when we talk about baits and jigs in general, you have a lot of stuff that as far as the wintertime where we're at now, and I know you said you don't get to do a lot of fishing in the wintertime now, but personally, if I'm fishing in the winter, a jig is definitely going to be something I'm going to be throwing around. And I think that has a lot to do with one, the forage that they're eating, but two, in the winter, a jig allows me to slow my fishing, my presentation down because I like to feel every pebble, every
Right.
square inch of a lake. So it allows me to work every spot in the lake. Um, you know, and my favorite color right now is everybody's favorite color, black and blue. But I like more black than blue. Um, so
Yeah.
if it's the wintertime, what do you throw?
Dude, you hit it. A couple of my biggest bass have come on black and blue jig in the wintertime. That probably my go-to. I, I don't mind slow rolling a big single Colorado. I mean, it's got to be a lighter spinner bait and a big blade, so you can like keep that thing like barely moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to have to like, I want to keep it up in the column kind of. But a black and blue jig in the wintertime, and winter fishing, like, you're not getting many bites. But and even those big ones, when they bite, sometimes you don't, it's just like you'll just kind of feel mushy, and but she's on there. And wintertime is probably a time when I would also, we were talking about that 3/16. I'll downsize to a really light jig in the winter just because it forces me to fish it slower. And you got to kind of wait a little longer for that jig to hit the bottom and kind of drag it a little slower to keep it on the bottom. So wintertime is definitely a time when I'll, go to a really small, really light jig.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm the same way. So I don't know. I'm just not getting to, and I saw on your TikTok or something recently you've been pouring some silver buddies, some blade baits.
Yeah.
I everybody smashes on those things, man, and I swear to God, I've never caught a fish on one.
Yeah, dude, They're weird, man. Like my dad, he's a pretty big soul guy, fisherman, and into that kind of stuff. He's I got him in a tournament mode too, but he keeps fishing. Like right now, he's all winter. He's waiting for this time of year for the soul guy, and dude, they crush them on them things when they find them. They'll just look for the bait, and it seems like then just drop a vibey down there and start jigging away, and then they're usually down there. But I never have like personally bass fished much with vibeys, but trying to make a bunch to take down to Knoxville. I heard a lot at the expo last year that's kind of a big deal in the winter down there for smallmouth. So I'm trying to have a little something to take down there this year to see if we can't move a few. But something crazy, it's kind of off the wall story, but my dad found this little hole in the Licking River. He'll probably be mad. But dude, there were so many flatheads, and I'm talking middle of winter, like snow on the ground. We've probably got pictures, but drop a vibey down there, and you didn't even have to move that sucker. But there must have been so many flatheads, and we'd sit out here in the middle of winter and catch these things on vibeys just for fun on spinning rods. But that's probably my most memorable vibey story.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, we were talking about Brandon Klein, who's how I got, introduced to Bluerock custom tackles through him using the 1099. So, he goes down to the dam recently and caught some sauger down there on a blade bait like that. So, I've heard of, and like I have a buddy of mine that was a fisherman, and he's gone now. He passed away several years ago. He's one of my dad's buddies. He's probably in his 70s at this point, but if he was still alive, but he had 2 do-it molds, and that was like every size of silver buddy or blade bait that you can make. And when he was getting ready to pass on, he gave them to me and asked me to make some for him, and I did, and I gave them back to him, and he never got out to use them. But I don't think he ever threw another bait. Like, I think he threw that thing like summertime, spring, winter.
No, did he literally just like cast it and reel it in? Because I've always just vertical jigged them. Like that's how we've always fished them.
Yeah, no, he would cast those babies out and reel them in just like you would like a lipless.
Right, it's not much different than like a rattle trap, really, if you think about it. So
a little tighter wobble, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm getting ready to submit my first Bluerock custom tackle order here, and Josh on the old Ohio Bass Guru 10. I'm gonna get the discount code. So finish up some shipping stuff here and see what's up. So you'll be getting a message here in just a minute, I guess.
Yeah, we already got one aired about 5 minutes ago. Hopefully, it was one of the viewers. That's pretty
awesome, man. Well, yeah, like I said, guys, if you guys are wondering, again, this is Jesse French from Bluerock Custom Tackle. Find his stuff at bluerock.com or bluerocktackle.com. Sorry. And again, I am going to tell you the truth. I've not used any of his baits. I'm getting ready to order my very first one here. Matter of fact, you'll hear his phone ding in about 18 seconds here. But I enjoy fishing stuff that, one, are local made to me, but two, stuff that people are believing in. And that's a great thing. So, and I enjoy helping people out like him. Like I said, everybody is buying all these big giant custom bait or these big baits like, Strike King and stuff, because that's what we've been taught to make or buy. And you can go to any local tackle shop and look at crankbaits, and 80% of them will be Strike King, because they have all the money in the world to make baits. And that's why their baits are $6.99 and $7.99 as opposed to like, something that's custom made, like, that's $25.99. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Yep, Josh. So you're good, man. I did just submitted about an $80 order on your stuff.
Come across. I appreciate it, buddy. You didn't have to do that though.
Yeah, Aaron, definitely get your hand out there and get you some. And if you guys saw that a minute ago, let me put this back up here so old Josh can get some love. Ohio Bass Guru 10 right there, 10% off your order. I was going to do the old on another line thing, but shoot, man, I don't need any recognition, so we'll just let Josh have all the glory
Yeah,
here.
I
He's been
was
doing.
I was going to say we could punch in a code for the viewers tonight, but I'll tell you what, Josh has actually made some review videos on his YouTube channel, so I don't mind helping a guy out. Let's help Josh out tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, guys, bluerocktackle.com. And again, Ohio Bass Guru 10 for 10% off your order. He's been here with us the whole time. So, oh yeah, I forgot. Klein would have a code too. Couldn't tell you what his is. Klein 10 probably. Would you know that?
Yeah, I can't. They make their own code with that app, so I'm not sure what each individual guy's code is. But hit Brandon up; he'll tell you, I'm sure.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. So wintertime fishing, in my opinion, if I don't have a jig on my hand, I think my next go-to bait is a lipless. But if I swear, I think that a jerk bait is something that's really I lock in my hands all the time. If the water temperature is like 50 degrees or colder, all the way until it reaches like 50 degrees.
Yeah, yeah, it's damn near impossible to beat a jerk bait when the water, reaches that temperature where they kind of just get out there and float around in no man's land. It's easier now to fish it than it used to be because you just kind of who brought it by a fish eventually. But now there's other things that make that a little funner. But
Justin Harper says jerkbait is a myth to me. I assume that means that you either don't throw one or don't catch many fish on one. We'll give with both of those. But here's my hot take in fishing. A lot of people are not going to like this hot take because people think I'm crazy, but I think that a whopper plopper is the most overrated bait on the planet.
yeah, man, I've had a couple. It's a weird deal for me. It really is as far as a consistency thing. I've had a couple very key quality tournament fish that have come off a plopper, so it's got a little like place in my heart. But you're right, dude. I've thrown it a bunch, and like when it should get bit, you'd think it just doesn't. And I'm a buzzbait guy, the river rat in me. So I'll always usually have a black buzzbait on the deck, and I'd probably choose it over a plopper most days.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I don't for the life of me know the difference that a fish is looking at, other than the noise that it's making. The plopper makes a really different, distinct
Yeah,
sound, obviously, and you have that squeak that that normally comes with a buzzbait.
right, right. The weirdest thing with the ploppers is it like when they really kind of hit mainstream there, like that first summer. It seemed like that's when I did the best on them, and like ever since they just haven't produced greatly. Here and there, you catch one, but I've never just wrecked them on one. And they're a little harder to fish around anywhere where you have some grass that's floating on top. It's just hard to fish them
Yeah,
things.
it's really tough. So
But
yeah. So Justin, that's the thing, man. When I first started fishing a jerk bait, I had zero confidence in them until I learned that cadence makes a difference. I think that a steady retrieve that you think you see like jerk jerk stop jerk jerk, a lot of times that's not going to catch the fish. Normally, right now, especially in my opinion, and I'm no wildlife biologist, so take this for what it's worth. I feel like that right now, especially when the water's cold from 50 degrees, like I said, all the way to 50 degrees in the springtime, fish are expending as much or as little energy as possible. They're conserving more energy and trying to eat bigger stuff so that the benefit of eating that bait is better for them in the long run. So I think that throwing a little bit bigger jerk bait in the wintertime and allowing that bait to set still for longer periods of time, even though it's like freaking watching paint dry, man. I know I'm a power fisherman. I'll throw a crankbait or a buzz bait on an 8 gear ratio. I don't care. I'm just buzzing that thing in. Sometimes I'll catch them, sometimes I won't. In the wintertime, you're not going to catch them that way. But I watched Zona's fishing show one time about like shoot man, it's like 10 years ago. And I want to think that it was like him and Mike McClellan or somebody out, and they were fishing jerk baits on this like I don't know if you guys have seen this episode, but he's fishing on this like cooling pond for this like nuclear power plant.
Yep.
And the water temperature is like 60 degrees all year round, or
Yeah.
like in the hundreds in the summertime. But he's throwing this jerk bait, and he says, I swear, and it's something I live by. He's like, man, he's like, when I'm talking about slow fishing this thing, I mean slow fishing. He's like, I mean jerk, check your email. And he said that's slow. And I think that's a big deal. And I think that's how I built some confidence is catching some fish. A jerk bait has caught some of the biggest fish that I've ever caught in my life, for sure.
Yeah.
The Boss Man buzz baits with the clacker is the deal. I've never used them. I'll have to check them out. And hey, what's up? Used to fish all the time. I've gotten out of it for several years, but looking to get back into it. Never used a jig. What's the best way to fish them? First of all, Nate, glad you joined us, man. I'm super sorry to hear about your brother. But you know, I'll give you my way of fishing it and give you and let Jesse have the opportunity to talk about it. Was we talking about a minute ago, man? My favorite way, I think a lot of it becomes the trailer that you're fishing. I like to fish net baits, some stuff. I know you can pour your own stuff. I think Do It has a really cool mold out this year that I'm going to buy. But my opinion, I throw a jig and I fish it uber slow. Like I said, I want to fish it on a big heavy rod. I'm usually throwing it on a G Loomis NRX Plus 894 with like 17 pounds sunline or 16 pound sunline, where I'm just pitching that thing out there. And I'm wanting that thing to beat off every single thing on the bottom that I can, whether that's stumps, whether that's boulders, whether that's rocks. And are you going to lose jigs in that way? Sure you are. But in my opinion, fishing a jig, if you're not losing one every now and again, you're not putting the jig where the fish are living, especially this time of year. So my opinion, fishing a jig, best way to do it is I'm not a flipping pitching guy. You know, I will make as long as a cast as I can with a jig, and I will find every pebble or everything on the bottom between my boat and where I've casted as slow as possible, especially in the wintertime. What's your take, Jesse?
Yeah, as far as just getting back into it, I think more importantly than how to fish it, probably where to go. You know, go to a pond where you know you're going to get some bites and get a feel for that jig and get a feel for a bite. You know, if you could go to a farm pond and catch 20 of them on it, you know, as you keep fishing the jig, and remember, a jig is, I don't know what you think, Tyler, but it's kind of known as a big fish bait. It's not always been known as a big numbers bait. So just remember that going into jig fishing. It's usually quality over quantity when you get the bites, but go hit a pond somewhere where you can get some bites and where you know you're going to get bites and get a feel for that. As you drag it, you know, feel that thump, or when you stop it, you know, you see that line start slacking up. That's where I would start. And then a lot of people fish them differently. I don't like telling people how to fish a jig. I mean, I know guys that are swimming a 1099 like a, you know, swim jig in areas. That's why we started making the white ones, because these guys were skipping them under docks and catching spots, swimming them and stuff. But I'm a dragger. You know, I like flipping it into the heaviest cover I possibly can, and like Tyler said, but just go somewhere where you're gonna get some bites and learn your own little style. Just being out there fishing is probably the most important part, more than anything, and just enjoying that.
Yep, just like Tennessee Bassmaster says here, this is my mentality, you know, because like we were just talking about, Jesse and I basically have the same opinion, but I think he's right. I think it's with any bait. We were talking about jerk bait and Justin saying that he doesn't have any confidence in it. I think the key is going to places that you can catch fish. And, you know, I can go to Yatesville or Grayson around my area, and I could throw the best bait humanly possible, and there's going to be some days that I don't catch a fish. That's just the way it is. And that's why they call it fishing and not catching, let's face it. But if you have a farm pond or some place where you can go and you can pitch these things around where you know that there's fish in there and you know you're going to get a bite, you're going to be able to present these baits to these fish that are not so pressured, and you're going to have a better chance of building that confidence in baits. That's going to eventually cause you to be a better fisherman, because the confidence is king, man. I'm fishing, like, I got like 35 rods in my boat, and I find the same 6 on my deck all the time.
Right, right. It's that's what's cool about fishing. I mean, you can be 60 years old and just decide to get into it, and and not know anything but be wanting to learn. And I meet a ton of guys like that, and girls, at these expos, and they'll come in the booth, look at all this. They know it's pretty and they know it looks good, but they have no clue what it does or what to do with it. So you kind of and I've tried, like with our YouTube channel, to make little videos, like show them what our products do or this or that, like best I can. I need to get better with it and invest a little more time into it. But
Yeah, so maybe that's something I can help you out with as far as making some videos and things. Maybe we can talk back and forth. Another thing there is, you said about making a custom bait is getting them modeled and 3D printed. Don't look any farther than me, man. Like, if you need something like that done, like, that's what I teach.
really, that's awesome.
Yeah, I have 15 3D printers in my classroom, so
Nice.
yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
I
no, for sure, man.
sometimes.
No, that's the cool thing. Like, yeah, I'm okay. And the cool thing about it is, man, like, we'll keep it hush hush, but it'll be cool
Yeah,
to maybe have one of my students design it for you. That's pretty cool.
right.
Jim Morrison wants to know if you'll take him bow hunting.
What's that?
Jim Morrison wants to know if you'll take him bow hunting.
Oh, he's been begging me all year. He's always on my case. He's a way better bow hunter than me. I'm just confused why he hasn't killed something yet down there. He's got the whole Wayne National Forest to hunt, for crying out loud.
Tennessee Bassmaster. So, what's your favorite trailers? I'll go first and let Jesse answer in a second. I think my favorite trailers, as I mentioned earlier, I've been throwing a net bait pocket crawl for a while. Sometimes I will bite down like a Zoom speed crawl and throw that. But lately, I've been using this. Obviously, everybody likes the old rage crawls for the trailer, but I've been biting down. I think that they're actually made for a chatterbait, but they're called Berkeley the Deal. I think they're a skeet reese bait.
Yeah,
They're pretty cool for a trailer.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of different trailers I'll use for different situations, and I'm just a weird bass fisherman. There's even certain lakes in my head where they like a max scent smell, and other lakes it seems like they don't. But as far as, we actually sell a little, it's kind of a simple compact 3-inch crawl. It makes a damn good little jig trailer. But I'm going to give another shout out to a fella named BJ Baxter, and he makes a little crawl called a ditch pickle. It's kind of similar to a Z crawl, but it has a little more meat on the body. I like that for for a jig trailer, and rage bug, anything really. And then early in the spring and in the winter, I'll probably go with the chunk. Just a little less action. So
Yeah, it makes sense. BS Fishing says, should I be using braid deleter or straight fluorocarbon? I fish jigs on, again, a big heavy rod, a 4-power NRX Plus 894, which is really a medium heavy in their line, but don't take that for what it's worth, because it's definitely a heavy action in my opinion. But 894, but I'm throwing 16-pound fluorocarbon. Like, I throw braid on 2 things, and that's top water and if I'm flipping or if I'm punching. Like, everything else either has fluorocarbon on it. I don't think I own I own 2 spinning rods that have mono on them, and that's because they're just cheap rods that I just throw little stuff on. But in my opinion, unless you're just fishing around some major heavy cover, I'm a straight fluorocarbon guy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. To be honest with you, I'll frog and flip with braid, and I don't know if it's the old soul in me or what, but I prefer straight mono on my spinning rods. Honestly, to this day, had a couple horrible experiences with my freaking leader knots over the years, and I've come to not trust them. And it's just because I'm an idiot and can't tie a knot, probably. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Cody
we've
Cody
all been
Wayne.
down that
Yeah.
road.
Cody Wayne Hall here. So what's up, Jesse?
Hey, Cody, how are you, buddy? Hey to Justin as well. He's a loyal blue rocker. He was chatting there a while back.
Yeah. So Nate said, I want to learn the jigs, getting back into it. I want to do it right and successful so I can get my confidence built back up and keep it there and so I can get out of it again. I'll be ordering off from you, Jesse, the next day or so, my friend. That way I can come back and and say y'all vice work. So yeah, man.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, like I said, dude. One of those deals. So again, guys, we're at about that 1 hour mark. So we're gonna stay on for just a second. If you guys want to hit up Jesse for some more questions, now's the time to do that. You guys know that I like that 1 hour mark because I feel like any more than that, we're wasting your all's time. We will be live every Tuesday from here on until I die, unless something crazy happens. Those of you guys that want to talk fishing, let me know. We'll get you on, the same as Jesse here. Second off, again, you guys saw that code earlier. I'll put it back up on the screen here again if I can find it. That's Josh Langley, also known as Ohio Bass Guru. So Ohio Bass Guru 10 for 10% off your order. And again, I'm going to put this banner up here, but don't use this code. Use the one I just showed you. It is bluerocktackle.com. Hit him up, order some stuff. I did, obviously, so all the cool kids are doing it.
Hey, before we get off here, man, I wanted to congratulate you on your big gig you landed. So that's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So those of you guys that don't know, I'm opening up for Clay Walker on January the 14th, which is to say that's epic in my eyes. That's an understatement.
That's killer. I can pick a couple chords as well, so I always, the music stuff always seems to catch my eye when I see it here and there.
Yeah. So Justin says only straight braid with frogs, 10-pound braid with long fluoro leader on spinning. I'm with you. I'm 15-pound braid till fluoro leader. Mike Nielsen wants to know, is 1099 old school brown rubber, or do you have a 1099 and old school brown rubber?
We can, buddy. We can make it however you want it. The ones we stock in inventory are silicone, but I've got cabinets full of cupboards full of anything you could probably imagine, from javelina hair to rubber to God knows what's in there.
Yeah. Dusty Smith, what's up, buddy? Looking forward to leaning on him again. I appreciate that tonight. Yeah, Justin, there is a way. If you want to hear me sing something, the intro song that was just on here a minute ago is actually my single that I released 3 years ago. It's called My World. You can find that on any streaming platform or buy it on iTunes. Again, Tyler Waller, My World. If you search that up, you'll find it. It's about fishing. So if you're on here, you'll definitely like that song. But if you're in the Ashland area, which is maybe some of you guys, if you guys want to hear a country show and see Clay Walker in concert with some local yokel opening up for him named Tyler Waller, January 14th at the Paramount Arts Center, that's the place to be.
Yeah, for sure. That's killer, man. You're going to be fired up that night.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I appreciate it, Justin. Like I said, just search My World by Tyler Waller. Matter of fact, this is the coolest damn thing right here. Like it's weird to me to be able to do this, and like, I don't know. I say this, it probably won't work now, but like just on Amazon Music, if you play My World by Tyler Waller. Well, if I can hit the button right. Maybe. I don't think Alexa's. Yeah. Play My World by Tyler Waller. Come on. You know you want to do it.
She going to be stubborn like any woman, ain't she?
Yeah. Probably because I'm soaking up all the.
Hey, while Tyler's doing that, don't forget, if there's any of you Bluerock cronies in here for the first time, go subscribe. He's trying to hit a goal on his YouTube channel. If you would do that for me. And if any of Tyler's guys would go subscribe to our YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that as well.
Yes, sir, man. Again, mine is youtube.com/on another line, just like you're seeing right here. But yeah, so Siri's or Alexa's not working, but
there it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's my world.
That's gonna make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, man, I'm super pumped up. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Josh. Got another $80 order coming your way, man. That's what we like to see.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you guys.
Again, you know, support local people, guys. You know, I'm still going to buy Strike King base because everybody's going to. But again, if you can get out there and support some people, Jesse, I'll be looking forward to that order when it comes in. Get out and do some fishing, do some review videos. Maybe you can share those out. But again, guys, if you guys are not subscribe to my YouTube channel or go over there and like Jesse's Facebook page, which he's got like 13,000 people liking the page. So he's just not a mom and pop shop. He's doing it right. So again, Facebook, or you can like on Facebook as well, facebook.com/on another line, as well as youtube.com/on another line. If you're going to choose one of the two, I would choose YouTube. You're going to see a lot more content from me there. As well as better content, in my opinion. So that would be it. Again, go over there and show Jesse stuff some love, as well as Bluerock Custom Tackle, and head on over to bluerocktackle.com and get your hands on.
Don't be afraid to shoot me a message or email or whatever either. Just like the jig question. Yeah, we'll get them daily and help out however we can. See you in Knoxville. Eric, can't wait, buddy.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, guys. So, again, it looks like we're at that hour mark, so I appreciate it. Again, Jesse, thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Appreciate you giving up your hour of your time talking about baits.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Next week, we have Ryan Salzman on, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to talk about BP, Bass Pro Tour legend, won a BPT event this year. And he's kind of like where we're all want to be at some point. He's just now breaking into the, I'm calling it the elites. It's not the elites on the Bassmaster side, but the elite fishing world. He's made it, but he posted a TikTok today that even though that he's at a point where we think he's made it, it's still like every day is a new struggle, which I'm pretty excited. So we will see you guys next week. And again, if you guys don't care to go over there and show some love to those pages, we'd appreciate it. And just like always, if you guys can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on another line.